You know that feeling when you come home after a really long, hard day, and there they are? That unconditional welcome, that pure, simple love. It's one of the best feelings in the world. Our pets are our comfort, our best friends, our furry family members. We think we know everything about our relationship with them. But what if I told you there's a hidden layer to this bond? Something much deeper and honestly, a little unsettling, going on beneath the surface? What if the pet sleeping at the foot of your bed is actually a mirror, reflecting back a part of yourself you don't often let yourself see? This isn't a spooky story or a reason to be worried. It's a profound idea from the famous psychologist Carl Jung, and understanding it can completely change how you see yourself and your animal companion. It all revolves around a concept he called the shadow. To really get why this idea about our pets is so powerful, we have to take a quick trip inside our own minds with the help of Carl Jung. He saw our inner world not as one single thing, but as a collection of different parts, all interacting with each other. Think about it. You're not the same person with your boss as you are with your closest friend, and you're different again when you're all by yourself. Jung gave names to these parts, and understanding them is the key to unlocking this whole mystery. First, there's what he called the ego. This is basically the part you think of as you. It's your conscious identity, the voice in your head that makes decisions and navigates your daily life. It's the CEO of your conscious mind. Then, there's the persona. This is the mask we wear for the world. It's the social face we put on to fit in, to be polite, to get a job, to be part of a community. There's nothing inherently wrong with the persona. It's a necessary social tool. But it's not the whole of who we are. Behind the mask, and even outside the direct awareness of the ego, lies a much larger, deeper, and often hidden part of ourselves, the unconscious. And this is where things get really interesting. Deep within the unconscious, Jung said, resides what he named the shadow. The shadow isn't some monster under the bed. It's more like a mental basement where we store everything about ourselves that we've been taught isn't acceptable. From a very young age, we learn that certain feelings and impulses aren't okay. Maybe we were scolded for being too loud, for getting angry, for being selfish, or for being too wild. So, we take those raw, genuine parts of ourselves, our anger, our jealousy, our primal instincts, our deep desires, even our unexpressed creativity and power, and we try to hide them away, even from ourselves. We repress them. We pretend they aren't there. But they don't vanish. They all get bundled together into this hidden package, this shadow self. The problem is the shadow has a voice. It wants to be acknowledged. It's a part of you, and it demands to be integrated. Because we've shoved it into the dark and refused to look at it directly, it finds sneaky, indirect ways to leak out into our lives. The most common way this happens is through a psychological mechanism called projection. Projection is when we see these disowned, unconscious parts of ourselves in other people, or, as we'll see, in our animals. We might meet someone who is fiercely assertive and feel a sudden, intense dislike for them, not realizing that we're actually reacting to our own repressed desire to be more assertive and stand our ground. That person is acting as a mirror, showing us a part of our own shadow that we're uncomfortable with. We externalize an inner conflict because it's often easier to criticize something out there than to face it in here. This isn't us being deceitful. It's our psyche's way of trying to show us something important about ourselves, using the world around us as its canvas. This idea of projection is something we all do every single day, often without the slightest awareness. It's one of the mind's most clever tricks for keeping the lid on that shadow box. Have you ever met someone and felt an immediate, almost irrational irritation? Maybe you label them as arrogant or needy, and that feeling is so strong and so certain. It's fascinating because sometimes that strong reaction can be a clue. It can be a signal that the very trait we're so quick to judge in others is actually a disowned part of ourselves trying to get our attention. That person's confidence might trigger us because we've repressed our own need to be seen and recognized, mistaking it for something negative. Their expressiveness might annoy us because we've bottled up our own emotions so tightly. We externalize the conflict because it's easier to deal with an enemy outside than to face the one within. It's not that the other person is perfect, it's that our intense, charged reaction is often more about us than it is about them. Now, take this deeply human psychological habit and bring it into our homes, to our pets. Our relationship with them is unique and creates the perfect conditions for projection, perhaps more than any human relationship. Because an animal is essentially a blank canvas. They don't use complex language to define themselves or correct our assumptions. They don't sit us down and say, "Actually, you've misunderstood my motives." They simply exist, behaving according to their true nature, and we, as human beings wired to find meaning and tell stories, project a narrative onto them. We interpret their behavior through the lens of our own unconscious material, our own unmet needs, our own hidden struggles. We see in them what we cannot, or will not, see in ourselves. They become living symbols, furry mirrors reflecting our inner world back at us. Let's make this real with some examples. Think about the person who is naturally quite anxious. Their mind is often filled with worries about the future and potential dangers. They might adopt a rescue animal, perhaps a cat that is shy and skittish, hiding under the bed when guests come over. The owner looks at this animal and feels a powerful, deep kinship. They think, "We are the same. This poor thing is so scared of the world, just like me." And so, they pour all of their care into protecting this animal, cushioning it from every loud noise and potential stressor. But in doing so, they might actually be reinforcing the animal's fear, and more importantly, they are reinforcing their own. They see the animal's skittishness not just as a behavior to be gently worked with, but as a validation of their own worldview that the world is a scary place. The pet becomes the embodiment of their own anxiety, and caring for it becomes a way to manage their own inner state without ever having to address the root of it within themselves. The love is real, but the dynamic is a perfect loop of projection. On the flip side, consider someone who lives a life of extreme discipline and control. Their life is about order, routine, and perhaps suppressing any kind of messiness or spontaneity. They get a dog, and their entire approach is about rigorous training, strict rules, and perfect obedience. They might see the dog's natural, instinctual behaviors, chasing a squirrel, pulling on the leash, getting excited and jumping up, as profound failures, as acts of defiance against their order. They project their own repressed wildness onto the animal. The dog's pure, innocent canine nature becomes a symbol of the chaos they are so desperately trying to keep at bay in their own life. The battle for control isn't really with the dog. It's a proxy war against the parts of themselves they have locked away. They are trying to train their own shadow into submission, using the dog as a stand-in. And it's not always about negative traits. Projection can also work by putting our disowned positive or energetic qualities onto our pets. Imagine a person who is very quiet, polite, and introverted. They feel they always have to be appropriate and measured. They then get a dog that is the absolute opposite, wildly social, exuberant, bursting with joy and energy, greeting every person and every dog with unbridled enthusiasm. The owner might laugh and say, "Oh, he's just so friendly. He has no shame." But often, there's a deeper layer. That dog might be carrying the owner's repressed desire for connection, for uninhibited expression, for the freedom to be loud and silly and to take up space without apology. The owner lives vicariously through the dog's social freedom. They love that energy because it is a part of themselves they feel they cannot express. The dog becomes their ambassador to the world, acting out the very social bravery they wish they possessed. We don't just project our darkness, we also project our disowned light, the parts of us we deem too much for the world. Our pets, in their unconditional acceptance, willingly carry that weight for us, showing us not only what we fear but also what we secretly long to be. Let's get specific and bring this concept home, right into the living room where your pet is probably sleeping right now. The beauty of this idea is that we can see it reflected in the very type of animal we're drawn to and in the specific behaviors that either delight us or drive us crazy. It's in these details that the mirror becomes clearest. Think about why you might have chosen a dog. For many of us, it's about companionship, that unwavering loyalty, the joyful greeting at the door that makes you feel loved and needed. There's a beautiful honesty in that. But if we look a little deeper, a dog can also become a symbol for other, more hidden things. Their innate desire to please and their pack mentality might mirror our own repressed struggles with authority, times when we've had to obey when we didn't want to, or moments we've suppressed our own needs to be a good boy or girl in our own lives. A dog's territorial barking at the mail carrier might not just be about protection. It could be echoing our own unexpressed defensiveness over our personal boundaries, our space, or our relationships. And that pure, simple joy a dog gets from a walk or a stick. It might be reflecting our own buried longing to live more instinctively, to drop our complex human worries and just be present in the moment, guided by simple pleasures and immediate senses. We often love in them the primal simplicity we feel we've lost in ourselves. Then there are the cat people. We often speak about cats in terms of their independence, their mystery, that elegant sense of self-sufficiency. We admire them for being their own masters. But what does that say about us? That attraction to their aloofness might be hinting at our own repressed desire to be less people-pleasing, to set stronger boundaries, to say no without guilt, and to not always need the approval of others. We might see their cunning, their cleverness in getting what they want, and secretly admire a strategic intelligence we feel we must hide in our own daily interactions for fear of seeming calculating. And let's be honest, there's also the part of us that looks at a cat napping peacefully in a sunbeam, completely cared for, and recognizes a deep, perhaps hidden, desire to be looked after without having to constantly ask or prove our worth. The cat embodies a quiet, confident receiving that many of us have been taught is selfish. And what about those of us with more unconventional companions, birds, reptiles, or exotic pets? The choice itself is a powerful statement. A bird, especially one that flies, can become a living symbol of a profound desire for freedom, for a perspective above the mundane worries of everyday life. Its song might reflect a repressed need for more expressive creativity and voice. A reptile, with its ancient, primal energy and quiet stillness, often connects to a part of us that feels deeply unconventional, that longs for a connection to something older, more instinctual, and less domesticated than the standard human experience. It can be a projection of our own feeling of being other or different, of not quite fitting into the regular, furry pet mold of society. We see in them a unique beauty that resonates with a part of our own identity that might feel stifled or hidden away. But it's not just about the species. The real magic, and the most practical application, lies in observing their specific behaviors. Is your pet the one that's always getting into trouble, labeled as badly behaved, or seemingly defiant? It's easy to just focus on training the behavior out of them. But the Jungian approach invites us to turn that reflection inward. Before you get frustrated, ask yourself a courageous question. Where in my own life do I feel out of control? What situation feels chaotic or undisciplined? That dog that chews up your shoes when you're away might be acting out anxiety or a restless energy that you yourself are carrying but not addressing. Their lack of discipline might be mirroring your own. On the other hand, is your pet overly timid, quick to hide, or fearful? Do you find yourself constantly reassuring them, wishing they were more confident? This, too, is a potent reflection. Ask yourself, where in my life am I not standing my ground? Where am I hiding my true thoughts or feelings? Where am I making myself small to avoid conflict or visibility? Your pet's fear can be a powerful, living metaphor for your own retreat from the world. They are showing you, in their behavior, a part of your own emotional state that you may not be fully acknowledging. By simply trying to fix them, we might be missing the invaluable message they are bringing us about our own need to feel safe, secure, and brave enough to take up space in the world. So, after all this, does it mean that having a pet is some sort of psychological trap? Is the message that we should second-guess every single moment of affection we share with them? Absolutely not. The real warning here isn't about the pets themselves. It's about staying asleep to the profound dynamic that is already playing out in our homes every single day. The risk lies in only ever seeing our animal as a comfort object, a furry antidepressant whose sole job is to make us feel better without ever asking anything of us in return, except for food and the occasional walk. When we do that, we risk missing the entire point of their presence in our lives. We might be using their unconditional love as a blanket to smother our own growth, never realizing that right beside us, in their gentle, or not so gentle, ways, they are holding up a mirror showing us the very parts of ourselves we need to acknowledge to become whole, healthy people. The danger is in loving them only for what they do for us, while remaining completely blind to what they are trying to show us about ourselves. But here's the beautiful flip side, the real heart of this entire idea. This isn't a doom and gloom diagnosis. It is, in fact, one of the most incredible opportunities for personal growth we could ever stumble into. If we can shift our perspective just a little, our pet transforms from being just a companion into becoming one of our greatest spiritual teachers. They are a live-in guide on the path toward what Jung called individuation, which is just a fancy word for the lifelong journey of becoming your complete, authentic self, of integrating all those scattered pieces of your personality, including the ones you've kept hidden in the shadow. Who better to help you with that than a being who lives entirely in the present moment, who is utterly and unapologetically itself at all times? They are masters of being. They don't worry about their persona. They don't fret over past mistakes or future anxieties. They simply are. And in that, they hold a silent wisdom we've largely forgotten. This shifts the entire relationship from a one-way street of projection to a two-way street of conscious observation and learning. It's about moving from asking, "What does my behavior say about you?" to asking, "What does your behavior reveal to me about myself?" This is where the real magic happens. It's an invitation to sit down, quiet our busy minds, and truly watch our animal with a sense of humble curiosity. What can your dog teach you about pure, unbridled joy and living instinctively? Watch how he abandons himself completely to the thrill of chasing a ball, how he meets every single walk as if it's the first one he's ever been on, with awe and excitement. He's a masterclass in mindfulness and enthusiasm. What can your cat teach you about setting boundaries and honoring your own needs? She doesn't feel guilty for walking away when she's had enough affection. She naps when she's tired, plays when she wants to, and makes her preferences known without a hint of apology. She embodies a quiet self-assurance and independence we often sacrifice to be liked. Even the so-called bad behavior becomes a lesson. The dog that barks at the door isn't just being noisy, he's demonstrating protective vigilance. Can that inspire you to look at where you might need to better protect your own energy and space? The parrot that screams for attention isn't just being loud, it's expressing a deep need for social connection. Does that mirror a lonely part of your own heart that is craving more authentic community? This isn't about blaming yourself or pathologizing your love for your animal. It's about upgrading the relationship to its highest, most meaningful level. It's about realizing that the soul lying on your couch isn't just a pet, It's a partner in your evolution. They are giving you a daily, living, breathing reflection of your inner world. The work, then, is to have the courage to look into that mirror, not with judgment, but with gratitude for the most unexpected and devoted of teachers. The goal is to eventually thank them for showing you your hidden self, and then to lovingly take those pieces back, so you can love them not for what they represent, but simply for who they are. This relationship we have with animals is one of the oldest and most profound connections we humans have ever known. It's a bond that goes beyond words, built on something much deeper than language. And what we've explored today isn't meant to cheapen that bond or make it seem clinical. Instead, I believe that by understanding these hidden psychological layers, we can actually make our connection even deeper and more meaningful. It moves from being a simple friendship to a true partnership in growth, a shared journey of discovery. It's about seeing the soul in their eyes and recognizing a teacher, a mirror, and a loyal friend all at once. Now, I'm so curious to hear what you think. After watching this, what do you see reflected in your own pet? Do you recognize a new pattern or a trait that might be speaking to a part of yourself? Please, share your story in the comments below. I make a point to read every single one because this is about starting a conversation, and your experiences are what make it so rich. If this video gave you a new way of seeing things, if it made you think, then please hit the like button. It really helps. And if you want to join me for more of these journeys into psychology and the hidden layers of our everyday lives, then definitely subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, for being open to these ideas, and for sharing your time with me today.